Good morning. I hope you all slept well after a great evening last night. I know the students were out. I don't know how many of the rest of you made it out and about, but I know the students had a lively evening at the Blackfin pub, which I stopped in at, but I have to admit that the older among us had to go to bed. But anyway, so it's so great to see all of you again this morning. We've survived the hurricanes, the tornadoes, and everything else, and I think we're ready to go today. I am really feel very, I'm having a very special moment this morning because I get to present an award today. And ACS has the tradition of giving out Progressive Champions Award, and this year we have 2 recipients in 2013. But this morning, I have the honor of presenting ACS's award to Congressman John Lewis. Now, I think those of you who have been at ACS conventions certainly know that John Lewis has been with us every step of the way, has been a featured speaker, including at our second convention in 2004. And in 2010, he took part in an ACS symposium to reflect on the 45th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. He engaged in a conversation with Pulitzer Prize-winning author Taylor Branch in what, for me, was certainly one of the most meaningful and moving events that ACS has ever held. And John Lewis has been called the conscience of the U.S. Congress, but I think that really doesn't really capture it. Conscience of a nation is, I think, more accurate. Roll call has said John Lewis is a genuine American hero and moral leader who commands widespread respect in the chamber. He has remained at the vanguard of progressive social movements and the human rights struggle in the United States since his early childhood. By the age of 23, he was already a nationally recognized leader and an architect and keynote speaker at the historic March on Washington in August 1963, a day that we are going to recognize this year as its 50th anniversary. Despite more than 40 arrests, physical attacks, and serious injuries, John Lewis remained and remains a devoted advocate of the philosophy of nonviolence. He was elected to Congress in November of 1986 and has represented Georgia's 5th congressional district ever since. He's the recipient of countless awards from eminent national and international institutions, including the highest civilian honor granted by President Barack Obama, the Medal of Freedom. An author as well. His latest book was published last year and is entitled Across That Bridge: Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. It should come as no surprise that at last year's convention, the silent auction item that sold for the highest sum was an autographed picture of Congressman Lewis. This year, we've gone way further than that. We actually have the man himself. And so we are so honored that Congressman Lewis could join us today and speak a few words to us on this at this important time. So let's welcome Congressman Lewis, and I
Good morning. Oh, good morning. You're a beautiful, handsome looking group. It's early in the morning. Caroline, thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words of introduction. Thank you for this great honor. Thank each and every one of you for being here. It is good to be here at the American Constitution Society for Law and Policy. Thank you. Now, one thing you didn't hear in the introduction, I didn't grow up in a big city like Washington, D.C., or New York, or Detroit, or Philadelphia, or Atlanta. I grew up in rural Alabama, 50 miles from Montgomery. And when I was growing up, I saw those signs that said white men, colored men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. And I would ask my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, why? And they would say, that's the way it is. Don't get in the way, don't get in trouble. But I heard of Rosa Parks. I heard the words of Martin Luther King Jr. on our radio. The action of Rosa Parks, the leadership, and the words of Dr. King inspired me to find a way to get in the way, to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. And I think it's time, I think it's time for all of us once again to get in trouble. Good trouble, necessary trouble. I have a strange feeling that in America, at this point in our history, we're just a little too quiet. We have come almost to that point where we just want to take it. We want to sort of resign. I said, this is the way it is. But it doesn't have to be this way. There's still too many people in our society that have been left out and left behind. Yes, they're black, they're white, they're Latino, they're Asian American, they're Native American. They're straight, they're gay. And someone, someplace, must have the courage, the raw courage, to stand up and speak out, and use the law to help bring about a revolution of values, a revolution of ideas, as Bobby Kennedy would say. Now, this coming here, I must tell you, just being here in this hotel, during the 60s, we met here on so many different occasions. 50 years ago, the night before the March on Washington, many of us, most of us stayed right here. Almost all of the leaders stayed here in this hotel. We stayed here in June of 1963 before we went over and met with President Kennedy. So many decisions was made here. So you meet here 50 years later. I know you're going to have great discussion, you're going to have a great panel. We're at a crossroad. Something's going to happen maybe next Monday, maybe next Thursday. The Supreme Court is going to say something. We've come too far. We made too much progress to stop now or to go back, but we must move forward. We got the Civil Rights Act in 1964, the Voting Rights Act in 1965. I've always taken the position that the vote is precious. It is the most powerful, non-violent tool that we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. Unbelievable discussion, debates are going around all over America on the part of some people to suppress the vote, to make it hard, to make it difficult, almost impossible for people to participate in the democratic process. We cannot let that happen. A few short years ago, 3 young people that I knew, Andy Goodman, Mika Scherner from New York, James Shaney from Mississippi, gave their very lives. And I tell young people, I tell students all the time, that these 3 young men didn't die in Vietnam, they didn't die in the Middle East, or Eastern Europe, or in Africa, or Central or South America. They died right here in our own country. The only thing some of us did, we gave a little blood. They gave their lives. Almost 50 years later, we cannot allow their deaths to be in vain. All of us, whatever happened next week or the following Monday or Thursday, we must be prepared to fight the good fight. And never ever give up. Never ever take no for an answer. We must get in the way. We must get in trouble, good trouble. Use the law, use the law. Use the Constitution to bring about a nonviolent revolution right here in our country, this time, this place. I know some of you are so young. You went in Mississippi, but some of you were there. You didn't walk across the bridge, but there's other bridges to walk across. Don't give up. Don't give in. Our struggle is not a struggle that lasts for one day or 1 week or 1 year. It is a struggle of a lifetime, of many lifetimes. Thank you for all of your great and good work. We must do what we can, as Dr. King was said, to create the beloved community and help redeem the soul of America. And you can do that with the law. Thank you so much and have a great conference, a great day.